Okay, so I kind of want to start with an apology to anyone who is subscribed to me and is used to a little different type of video. This isn't the usual build videos that I usually do, because when I'm making this thing, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I had an idea that I needed steel pipe 14 inches long, and that was literally the only measurement I had. Everything else was just kind of faking it as I went. The stock, I literally just cut and designed off of pictures I found online, even down to, it'll focus, this groove here, which originally is 2 pieces of steel welded together and then just filled with some Bondo body filler. It's used for cars. And then I just sanded it, gave it a nice metallic finish. Everything about this is, well, meant to look as close to the real thing as I could without actually making the real thing. It does have some issues, but for being homemade, it's pretty cool. I mean, the trigger works and everything operates the way I more or less want it to. So I guess I will show you some of its features. To start with, the barrel, and I had spent a long time trying to figure out this information, because online you see a bunch of, I'm guessing 14-year-olds building grenade launchers and stuff for airsoft and paintball, and they always say they use pipe, but they never say what kind or size. Usually I think it's just PVC, but I just took the shell, which is just this takes green gas. I use green gas because I have propane and the two are interchangeable. So I was able to shoot this thing for way cheaper than I would have had used CO2. But essentially, this is 1.5 inch steel pipe. I had to cut it down to 14 inches, which originally in my mind I thought was a lot longer. Then once I cut it down, I'm like, wow, that's actually really short. So I ended up making everything too big, so I had to cut everything down, which made it a real mess. But, so I guess it's time I probably show you how it works. Basically, this is the locking mechanism. It has a spring inside, which I'll show you, but locking mechanism, you have to manually move it because it won't close. But stick your shell in there, little notch cut out so you can remove the shell. 1/4 inch bolt is what holds it on. I was gonna paint it, but I kind of like the way that looked, and then it has that on there. So all the bolts I use on this are 1/4 inch, which is just what I use. But basically, I have them. Oh, it latches. Okay, no. Okay, if you shake it a lot, it's gonna come undone. But I don't think it was latched properly. Okay. This will be a lot easier once I have the stock. There. Basically, the stock has a bolt going in the back, which screws in, like most, I think most shotguns are set up that way, and a lot of rifles are, depending on the design. But I also have a pin up here that helps hold it in place, and that's the only thing holding it in place right now, because the bolt's hard to remove, and I figured one hand on camera wouldn't go so well. But I guess I could tear it apart and show what this thing looks like on the inside. Just grab my tripod real quick. Okay, for starters, you get that. Okay, there we go. Gonna remove this bolt, or actually do that. It's not lined up properly because I had a good plan on how I was gonna make this done, and as per usual, that did not go very well. So it doesn't line up properly, but it moves, so I'm not worried. I have it cut down to where it tightens up. Barrel comes off. You can kind of see, I took the original one, which I think are milled, has a little wider area here. So I just welded on another piece because I don't have a mill. This is just a couple layers of steel welded together. I don't even remember the sizes because I didn't measure anything. With a hole drilled, got wood piece just sits inside that, which is just screwed in place. It's friction held, but I might want to put a stock on it, or not a stock, but a sling, so I want it to be a little more secure. This, see if the camera focuses. My lighting in here is terrible, but I just cut out a little notch, and that's how it locks in place. There's the groove. The shell, if you take it flat upside down, just falls out, but I figure you might just take your finger and pop it out. I don't really have the know-how to make it spring-loaded or anything, and plus I feel like if this ejects in the middle of a match, it might be kind of an issue. So, anyway. So I have that. Again, the shell I already showed you, basic airsoft shell. I think it's like the cheapest one I could find too. But now we have our, I don't know if this is classified as the receiver or not. I'm not an expert on guns. I do know a decent bit, but a lot of them beyond like, you know, your typical pistols and ARs and AKs was classified as a receiver. I don't really know, especially on like break action stuff like this. But I guess since this isn't an actual firearm, there's really no legal problems. So anyway, for this, usually you would unscrew that. Again, you can't, there it goes. You'd unscrew that. And this I'm probably gonna peen out just so it stays in place because I don't want it falling out. But anyway, that just comes off. Just hardwood stock. Got my maker's mark. There we go. Usually that'd be engraved on knives, but this isn't a knife, so I put it on the stock. And then the internal parts are essentially this. You can see, got a little spring, turns that. Literally, I put that on to hold it. It's actually just a piece of weld from, well, this is 2 pieces, and it was already there, so I'm like, well, I might as well use it. As you can tell, I'm not a good welder, but since, again, this isn't holding any actual firearm stuff, it's fine. 1/4-inch bolt holding the trigger. I just kind of hammer it out a little bit so it doesn't go anywhere. Not that it would once it's in the stock, but anyway. The main trigger, you pull that. Another 1/4-inch bolt with a spring on it. Just essentially pushes in place. When this sits in the barrel, this will sit about here. Pull the trigger, pushes in this little disc here, which is the plunger inside the valves, which releases your shot. You can look up online kind of how they work. I've only done a little bit of research in the past because I wanted to make my own when I was, 14, and I didn't have money. Anyway, that's not an issue now, but anyway, bolts just welded on here, and that's where everything screws together. Yeah, it's a pretty simple design for taking 3 weeks to make. I do have to say though, if I were to make this again, and I might, because I kind of want to make like a Mad Max, like sawed off type one. You know, the type that you would make when, yeah, doesn't really look like it'd work in real life, but look really cool in a video game. Because honestly, sometimes stuff like this, that's what you want. Don't take everything so seriously. But I wanted this thing to look like the real, Vietnam era grenade launcher. So anyway, yeah, simple trigger design. Again, a lot of these I've seen were literally just cocking guns, which mine isn't out here anymore, so I can't really show how those work. But, and really basic, you just have to push the plunger in. So, I guess I'm gonna put this back together, maybe get the GoPro and take a few shots. It's cold out, so it probably won't have a ton of power since it's gas, but, probably beats listening to me rambling for, the rest of the time. And plus, I need to get some epic pictures for my Instagram. Be linked in the description to that. Check out some of my other weapons. I usually don't make stuff like this. I'm actually a blacksmith that makes knives. I really like big, oversized knives. I dabble in making jewelry just because it's different. But, yeah, I guess before we go, a little bit of backstory on this. I've been doing airsoft since I was probably, 13. Middle school, my friends stuff did it. We all had the cheap $20. They're called mini rifles. They were based on HK assault rifle, but they were chopped down to where they're only. This stock is probably about 5 inches longer than the whole thing was. I duct taped a old M4 stock on the mine, so it had a little more accuracy. Cheap, $20 because none of us had cash. So I got rid of all my stuff years ago because I never used them, but my brother has been getting into it, and I kind of watching him oh, that looks like fun. So I've been thinking about getting into it and decided if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all out. And every opportunity to flex on him, I will take. So I made a grenade launcher. It's all in good fun. I know you're watching this. But anyway, so I got this. maybe try and make some like custom submachine gun, or maybe some like old machine, like World War I Vickers machine gun or something. That'd be sweet. Got that. Need to get some stuff for my tactical schoolgirl uniform. You know, that's gonna be cool. To all those who are just watching and haven't seen any of my other stuff, that's not as surprising as you would think if you know me. But yeah, so enough talk. Let's shoot some, I don't know, my garage wall. I didn't plan this out. I planned nothing. Damn, this stuff smells bad. Damn, that had like no power.